Happiness is beautiful, it's a kind reality. Happiness is the highest good, happiness is free. So let's be so very happy. Yeah, let's be so very happy. Yeah, let's be so very happy.
Welcome to the Happiness Show. This is George Ortega. I'm here with Claudia Basson, and we're here to talk about happiness, because happiness is, always has been, and always will be the point of it all. Today, we're very fortunate to have as our special guest Ed Smith to help us understand how to become happier through choosing the right job. Ed is the author and publisher of 60 Seconds to Success. He produces and co-hosts the cable access show Bright Moment and runs the Bright Moment seminars. He's a motivational speaker and publishes the 1 Minute Motivator, a free daily email. His website is brightmoment.com. Welcome to the show, Ed.
Well, great to be here. Boy, that's I like those credentials. Those are great. Who does all that?
Before we begin, Ed, would you like to describe to our audience a bit more about your work?
Well, it all revolves basically. It kind of emanates from my book, if I may.
Sure, absolutely.
60 Seconds to Success, which is what I'm all about. The idea behind everything I do is taking motivational principles, peak performance principles, if you will, and boiling them down to quick action-oriented steps. And so everything I do, the seminars, the television show, the book, and the 1 Minute Motivators that are free and go out every day, are designed around giving you information that you can use right now. It's all action-oriented, not a lot of theory, but it's just things you can put into motion right now. Mm-hmm. And that's what everything I do is about, is giving you information that can move your life ahead right now. I'm
Excellent.
not big on theory.
That is good, because so many of us don't have the time to really wade through a lot of literature. To really condense that and present that very concisely is great.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
What's the free, going out free? What is that
it's the
for?
1 Minute Motivator. And if you go on the website, brightmoment.com, and just enter your email, then every day you'll get a free email that comes back to you with a quick little tip on how you can run your life even better. Okay. Some days it's on time management, some days it's on happiness, some days it's on staying positive and focused. Every day it's on a little bit different, but it's all within the realm of peak performance. No ads, and I don't sell anybody's email address or anything like that, but it's just a free thing I send out every day.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Okay, Ed, today's show, of course, is about how to become happier through choosing the right job. And money, I suppose money and prestige are really a major problem many people encounter that kind of maybe distracts them from choosing the right job. Could you explain about that?
Well, you're absolutely right, and then I'll give you the surprise to that, because you're absolutely right. When most people are saying, when they're little girls or little boys, they think, well, I'm going to be a fireman, or I'm going to be a policeman, or this or that. But later in their life, being a fireman or a policeman, that was kind of like their first love, kind of goes away. That gets lost. They kind of lost that passion that they had, because somewhere along the line they pick up the idea, and it's not a bad idea, that hey, I've got to make money. I'm going to have to pay a mortgage. I want to get married, and and I have all these things, and I can't just go off and do what I want. God forbid I should go off and do what I want.
Yeah, really.
Somehow they reach a conclusion in their mind that what they want to do, they can't do. I mean, all this stuff suddenly comes up. This big list of all the things that they wanted to do can't be done because of this, this, and this.
Yeah, but it's not that so suddenly, isn't it? Society and parents. And
Absolutely.
Absolutely, yeah. And so by the time they're 18 or 21 or whatever it is, they have this huge list, like you say. Society it's put together this stuff, and they are totally convinced that they cannot do what they love. There is something wrong with that. They can't make the money that they want. Now I'll let you in the secret. The secret is that just the reverse of that is true. There was a very interesting study done at Harvard where they took a group of students that were graduating, And they gave him a questionnaire and said, okay, now you're about to take a job. Why are you choosing this job? Are you going for it because this is something you love, or are you going to this because of the money? It was anonymous, so they didn't have that that hang up in there. Like, I don't want to admit I'm making the money, but I am, I can relate to that. so they track these people, 10 years, 20 years out, and here's the really interesting part: they track their income. Okay, now you made this choice, and how much money now are you making now, and through time. And the thing that's phenomenal was the people who took the job for love, if you will, were making 2 and 3 times the money that the people who took the jobs for money were making.
That's surprising, right?
I mean, it's just totally reverse of what their intentions were, but reality has a way of coming back and evening the score.
Well, because it's your passion, and you're going to totally be motivated by your passion to do something, and if you're going to make money, that's cool too.
Yeah.
But mostly you're driven because it's coming from a good
Absolutely.
place.
It's not work.
And you know, I think another reason money tends to be a distraction is many of us don't understand happiness that much. And for example, the number one reason people, number one strategy people give as what will make them happier is to earn more money, when actually money has very little influence on happiness.
Yeah, that's something we have to learn every day.
Didn't the Beatles teach us that? Money doesn't buy me love, money can't buy
All we need is love.
Come on.
Yeah,
Costs nothing.
it is just, that should be tattooed at birth on our arms, I'm sure.
But now, so I think over the years people do a little bit more of having a real job, going to school, getting a degree, and also having this, passion, this hobby, whether it's balancing 2 different things or maybe 3.
Right.
And do you find that that's more common than people just kind of...
Yes. They never totally walk away. There's always, it depends on how deep they bury it. But it comes out. You can't totally hide it. When you have that passion in you, at some level it's going to creep out at you. It might be just the way you send holiday cards out and you dress them fancy or something if you have some artistic talent or something like that. You can't totally hide it. But the people that do the best are the people that turn their hobbies into that sneak love that they have. I have a friend that I like to use as an example. He's in his heart, he's a painter. He paints landscapes and things like that, and he's always had a passion for painting. But he had this thing. He has a government job. He has a 9-to-5 government job, but at night he comes home and he whips out the canvases and he paints. Now he's actually become quite successful. His paintings are on exhibit at a place down in Soho. Awesome. His stuff is going for like $40,000-$50,000 a painting, and he's making like 3 times the amount of money of his day job, if you will, part-time. But what he did was he turned a hobby and he stayed with it. And the funny part of it is he will not give up the day job.
What do you suppose that is?
He still got that thing. That part of that element of him, and we all have this little nagging voice in our, is that it's okay. I got it today, but tomorrow's a new day. You never know.
You might lose it.
You might lose it.
I think that is extremely important because, so many of us are in jobs that we may not enjoy, but there's a lot of fear. I guess there's something that keeps people there. What is it in general that keeps people at jobs that they don't enjoy? And what would you suggest to them to be able to help them make that transition?
Yeah, one of my expressions is the only kind of change people like is a change in their pocket, and that's true, for almost all of us, because change is frightening. It's scary. So what I tell people that I work with is make it baby steps, make it gradual. Find that passion. Don't ever walk away from it. And you may be so far over the line that you've forgotten what the passion was, and we have techniques to bring that out too, to rediscover that. But nevertheless, once you find the idea that you're a painter, then you can still look for security, but relate to that. Say, for instance, you're a songwriter or something like that, and by day you're a programmer, but you really write songs. So you find a programming job in a music company. So you've got music people around you, and you can network and meet people and stuff. So there's ways to take your security skill and transfer that into a day job that's in the industry or somewhat related to you, to your real passion, and then you can segue off of that. So it's a baby step. People think, well, if I go off and become a painter, that's it. I have to give up the house and the mortgage and the kids and stuff. And how much will I get for the kids? But let me calculate. Might be worth it. But the point is that it's frightening because they can't see it's just too much. It's too big. So you need to break it down into little steps.
And when you're talking about people who have talents that they don't necessarily use to make money, but they're there and they never go away.
Yes.
It's interesting because people really have to find that outlet for these talents or this expression, because really it starts very early on in your life that you find whatever pressure or stress is brought on by your family, that's something going on within your system. You find a way to deal with that, whether it's locking yourself in your room, listening to music, learning to play an instrument, drawing, whatever it is. Some young people who are rolling joints, I don't know, they got pretty good at that in the 60s. And you figure, that's something that you become, that helps you purge whatever these negative feelings are. So that is right when you say you can't get away from that. You'll never escape this need to express yourself that way because it's really something that's kept you, sane.
Right.
Yeah. And to make that into money, that's in a real American way.
I've got a question because, some of us are fortunate enough to really know what we would want to do if we had the choice or if we had the courage. Yeah. But many of us, if you ask them what do they really want to do, many of us don't know. So how do we go about understanding that?
Well, I have I'm the master of low tech. Don't ask me about, fancy.
Mr. Analog.
I really am. But I have what I call the manila folder technique. And here's the way it works. If you want to decide what you want to do with your life, you get yourself a manila envelope. And you can write on it, my life if you want. I don't care what you put on it. But you put it under your shoulder. And as you go out into the day, every time you see something that interests you, just in the ballpark, beekeeping. Hey, beekeeping, that's for me. I'm going to write this down. I'm going to put it, and you write it down. If you rip it out of the magazine or whatever, you make a note and you stick it in this envelope. All through the day, you just keep seeing things that interest you. And you try not to judge about, is it practical?
Yes, that's the hard part.
Yeah, that's very difficult. Very difficult. That's the hardest part of the whole thing.
That's the hardest part.
Yeah, but just rip it out, just whatever it is, just keep putting it in the envelope. I don't care what it is, just put it in. Silly or not, impractical, it doesn't matter. Just keep filling up the envelope. Every day, and you go through all day, and every night you come home and you empty out the envelope. Next day, you go out, same thing. Oh, let's see, beekeeping, no. Dog walking, now that's for me. Write it down, Whatever it is, you just keep sticking in the envelope. Something you see on television, you write it down, put it in the envelope. Day 2, empty out the envelope. 10 days, you go through this and you have 10 piles of all these different things that you've collected. So now at the end of the 10 days, you just mix them all together, and you go through it, and you start picking it up. Beekeeping, what was I thinking?
Like a lottery.
Throw it out. But once in a while you'll say, no, that's a waitress at Starbucks phone number. No, what's that?
Keep that one.
Keep that,
Oh, with the bees, maybe you were feared bees when you were a child, so you want to be a beekeeper so you can cope with that, build some skills up, right?
But you keep going through the pile, and what you look for is patterns, not exactly the exact thing, the exact job that you thought was it. But if you see at the end of if you have 20 things in a pile after you've gone all through them, is there a pattern of those 20 things that say something to you? Are they artistic? Are they mechanical? Do they involve math? What is it? What's the pattern of those 20 things that still grab you a week later? That's powerful. Something you see a week later that still grabs you, it means something. Something you saw an hour ago that grabbed you doesn't mean anything. But the fact that you go back through it and it means something a week later.
It's a great idea. It's very sensible.
Very sensible. So then what you do is, okay, now you're in the ballpark of something you can get your handle on. Then the next step then you've got to do a lot of research about what is it that's involved, what kind of jobs, what kind of training, what kind of skills are involved in this bailiwick here. The good news about this technique, besides it being simple, is that it's cutting edge. Because if you go off and you do Myers-Briggs or any of the other career assessment courses and interest courses and stuff, those are all done through a rearview mirror. They tell you about jobs. Oh man, you'd be a great boot jack or something. Chimney sweep, man, that's for you. You know.
Didn't we take those exams?
Yes, everybody does.
Like
everybody
standardized assessment tool.
Yeah, everybody gives you but the jobs.
Something bizarre would always come up.
Yeah, I mean,
like
what?
I don't want to do that.
It's
frightening.
Right. So here you've got something like a real world example of something related. That's
because you're going through your life and you're seeing things and whatever turns you on, you're just making a note of it, putting it in your manila envelope.
Perfect.
I love that.
Yeah. So that's one of my favorite techniques.
Cool. All right, so like, let's say, a person has done the technique, has discovered what they want to do, but, again, we've got to get back to the idea, like, that most people are pretty settled into their jobs. So what is that resistance, to make that change? I mean, is it all about money? Is it all about security? Or is there more to that?
It's a lack of knowledge. Partially. I mean, there's a lot of stuff, but a huge cure for that is information. If you're afraid of snakes, the more you learn about snakes, the less you're afraid of snakes. If you're afraid to make a job change, the more you learn about what's involved in making a job change, the less scary it is. It's not that big, overwhelming thing. It's, well, I have to take a night course in word processing or something. I have to do this. You begin to put together an analysis. Well, I saw a person who worked in the zoo and they were a zoologist. In order for me to become a zoologist, what do I have to do?
Right.
I have to go to college and take zoology courses, and I have to do this and that. Suddenly, well, I can do that. I can go to SUNY and take a zoology course. They have one on the weekends or on the internet or something. It's a lot more manageable and a lot less scary if you can take the pieces and say, I can do this, and I can do that, and I can do this, and go right down the line. And suddenly, it's not so bad. You can see a timeline. You see, we live on hope. A life without hope is a terrible thing. And suddenly, if you begin to go down this road, and I'm going to come back to happiness, because to me, one of the keys to happiness is having hope in your life. And if you suddenly don't feel trapped in this job anymore, and you have this hope, and you can see something at the end of the tunnel, your life lights up. You are just... God, you're a new person. You become alive again.
And really things that you thought you were having trouble with in your life that you were looking to define as this is a problem. I have to change this, or I have to get divorced, or I have to do this. They are not really the problems at all because there's something like this going on that you don't have hope.
Right.
You have nothing to look forward to.
Right. Right.
So having something to look forward to is a big part of happiness.
Huge.
And job, since we all have to report to work every day pretty much, most of us who do work, it gets really to be a drag if you're not enjoying what you're doing.
And there's, according to the happiness research, other people are really our main source of happiness, even though we think our happiness is going to come from like money or our success. So that how does a person come to understand, how they would fit in a certain field or in a certain company with the people that are working there?
Right. Yeah, you're absolutely right. They say that's a huge consideration. It really is.
We were talking about the corporate world on the way over here, and how sometimes it's rugged to fit into a world that you just don't feel natural in. If you might have too much personality or something just isn't gelling, and that's a big part of what you choose to do with your life. Like the gentleman who was working for the government.
Yes.
You have to have a specific type of approach to your job when you work for the government, no?
Whoa, totally. Absolutely. Yeah, I saw an interesting thing I was talking to a person who was going through, looking for a relatively high-level job, and one of the things that I thought was interesting was that when he was a candidate for this particular job, they showed him video clips of all the people that he would be working with. He interviewed with a couple. But not only did he have it was phenomenal. That's what I'm telling you. This was one of the greatest things that I've heard about in a long time. Is not only did he meet his prospective boss, and I think his boss's boss, but via video, he met his coworkers.
Wow. And they knew they were talking to meet him.
Yes, yeah, you know.
These are not hidden cameras.
Right. And so he got to, through the magic of video, he got to meet his possible co-workers.
That is very cool.
Yeah, and so he got to understand the culture, you know, and oh man, you know, I could never work with her, I could never work with him, you know, or conversely, boy, I'd love, you know, anybody can go to work with a tie like that, I'm there, man, you know.
And certainly you can prepare for what you have to deal with. Okay, this guy scares me a little bit. I'm a little freaked out by him, but I think I can deal with it. Now that I have a little information, let me process that, and how do I adjust myself or the situation to deal better with this person,
Right.
especially if you're subordinate to that person.
Yeah.
That's a handy tool.
Yeah, so I thought that was a good technique.
So you do also some corporate, or you do some kind of seminar work?
Right. Yeah.
Trainings, I suppose?
Right. Yeah. I have two. I have the 60-second to success seminars, which are based on the
Which
book.
should only take 60 seconds.
They are quick. There's no question about that. How long does it take to collect the money? Okay. Thanks for coming, folks.
Okay, good. See ya.
You didn't get much out of this? I can't understand it.
Right, well, it's over tonight.
Refunds? No, sorry. 60 seconds. And then the other ones I do took off from the television show, because on my Bright Moment television show, I do interviews with experts in all kinds of fields related to peak performance. And what happened, this is an interesting story about being open to, we're all human and we all need to be open to listening to things. In the course of doing the show, every week I do an interview with somebody who's an expert in time management or organizing skills or leadership or all kinds of different subjects, but it's always an expert, and I'm not the star, it's the guest talking about some particular subject, but it's an interview format.
Right.
And companies began to contact me and say, hey, we'd like to book you and your guest to come in and talk to us about time management or something. And when it first happened, I used to say, well, that's great, but you really want the guest, not me, to come in and talk about time management because, you know, that's the expert. And they said, no, we want you and them together because we like the interviewing technique. We learn more by, it's not death by lecture, if you will, you know, and so we want the interview format. But at first I resisted. Now, me, the motivational speaker, okay, I said no, you know, no way. You know, you only want the guest, not me. You know, after about 6...
Were you suicidal?
Yeah, I mean, I'm telling you, I'm human. You know, so after about 6 calls like that, where companies said, you know, we want you to come on together and do a seminar for us like that, and I said, okay, you guys are crazy, but I'll do it. You know? Well, it was a big hit because you have, it seems... you know, the fact that you have me sitting there who doesn't know anything about the subject, talking to the person, the audience learns so much more.
Sure, because you're asking questions and you're responding to things and
Yeah.
you're probably pulling out more information than you might even have prepared to
I've got to ask you
share.
something. Okay, we want to, like, in terms of, like, you know, finding the right job, you know, finding happiness through that. I mean, it's really a personal kind of a thing for each of us.
Yeah.
But there is a societal dimension that it doesn't seem like our society, you know, our world is structured to help people do that. So what do we need to do as, you know, as a collective? You know, how can we restructure our you know, schools, our government, whatever, to really guide us more into what will make us happiest?
Yeah, that's boy, I hope we can answer that today. But yeah, certainly the very fact that this show exists is a huge step. I mean, you know, the fact a happiness show on television 4 years ago was unheard of, right?
Well, there wasn't. This is the world's first happiness show.
This is it.
Hey, really? I mean,
Yeah.
you've been doing the show for 3 years.
Couple of 2.5, yeah.
Yeah, you know, 2.5 years.
Right.
So this kind of thing, we're sneaking the word out. You know, little by little, we're getting it out there. The secret is out, if you will. We've outed the secret of happiness here.
It's out of the closet.
It's out of the closet. You know, so certainly this kind of stuff, right off the bat, you know, your television show is, and now all the books, and of course in the field of psychology, you know, all the work you're doing as a psychologist that didn't exist. What, 10 years ago? It wasn't even.
Well, but
heard
it's still laying on the couch, I think.
Yeah.
Well, Claudia, let me ask you, because you are a psychotherapist, so I mean, like, do you find that some of your clients, you know, are really not as happy as they could be because they're in the wrong job? So I mean,
Absolutely. That's very common.
and so is that part of your field? Is your field just shifting more toward it's not just about the person's personal symptoms or psychology, but about their lifestyle?
It's about everything. It's about the whole system that they're in. It's about family, people, their friends, you know, what they do every day with their time, and it's a big chunk of time. So yeah, a lot of people come in and they'll say, I don't like what I'm doing, and I have like kids to support, and and I'm 40. What do I do? I'm depressed. I'm trapped, and that's a big, it's a big problem, and it's much more common because I think there are more options today for people. So you can actually make a change, but how do you go about doing that?
Right.
Without emptying your bank
Well,
account?
yeah. Hopefully, the whole field is changing. How about that? How about the idea of like introducing this concept like into our schools, into even as
That's where it
early
needs
as
to begin,
elementary
right
school?
there.
Sure.
Absolutely. Kindergarten. Don't we learn? who said that? You learn all of what you need to know in kindergarten?
Oh,
yeah, yeah.
That's so true. I mean, right there you can make it very fundamental, making choices, thinking about what you want, what you need, what makes you happy, what's acceptable, and making a better choice for yourself.
All right. So, as a society, why don't we do this enough? Or what why doesn't our government promote this?
Because they're Republicans? I don't know.
Yeah, that's a tough one. I mean, so everything is so regimented, and
I think the wheel just turns slow. I think the wheel of change turns very slowly.
Yeah. Again, one potential answer, it may be that back when capitalism and all that was being developed, they didn't realize that we could measure happiness, we could like understand it. So they kind of like understood happiness in terms of like material resources, material wealth and all.
So did they mean that when they wrote Pursuit of Happiness? I mean, isn't that my fundamental right?
Yeah, but they understood it as like having more of whatever, right? So now we
Yes.
understand that
Having
it's like
more.
it's having more, let's say, friends or more
Yeah.
more just positive feelings.
right, yeah, it's a soft skill. It's a hard sell. When you go into a corporation and you try to run a course on happiness, they say, well, how does that translate to the bottom?
Exactly.
We all know, we in the business all know, that it does translate to the bottom line, but they want to see a number on it. So that's hard. The schools now are moving into an area where everything is now being measured and quantified, and what gets measured happens. I mean, that's kind of like the way the world works. So if you measure it, it's going to happen. Happiness is not measured. It could be.
Needs to be.
Actually,
So how do you measure it?
The top authority on happiness, Ed Diener, wrote an article with Martin Seligman proposing a national happiness index. And you just, on a scale of 1 to 100, how happy is a person? And that number is a pretty accurate reflection.
No kidding.
Yes.
Well, they have a depression inventory. Why not have a happiness
Exactly.
inventory?
Exact same thing.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
it could be a huge diagnostic tool. It could flag problems way in advance. I mean,
Right. Ed, I'm sorry, we've got about like 40 seconds left for the show, so before we close, I wanted to just if you wanted to give the audience some contact information.
Okay, great. You can call me, Ed Smith, at 201-568-0019, or you can email me, edsmith@brightmoment.com, edsmith@brightmoment.com, or go on the website, www.brightmoment.com.
Great. Thank you so much, Ed, for being a wonderful guest. This was an excellent show. Okay, well, that's all we have time for today. Thanks for watching. In the future, we'll explore other topics designed to help us better enjoy life. This is George and Claudia and Ed saying, be good, think well, feel very happy, and I hope you'll join us next time here on The Happiness Show.
Happiness is powerful, it's our underlying need. Happiness is why we live each day. Happiness is destiny. So let's be so very happy. Yeah, let's be so very happy. Yeah, let's be so very happy.